بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم نحمده ونصلي على رسوله الكريم اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد وعلى آل سيدنا محمد كما صليت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد اللهم ألهمنا مراشد أمورنا وأعذنا من شرور أنفسنا. Yesterday we discussed that when Nabi Ibrahim alayhi salatu wassalam made dua for the protection of shirk, kufr ever entering in his family, and we explained why it was so important, when normally the people will feel that where will shirk ever come in such a family. It was explained that that's the places where it will come, because the effort of the enemy more than anywhere else will be made here. A person who deals with the jinn, because he's always under threat, the amount of wazaif he has to read that keeps him always in a circle of protection is lot. Because he knows that if he doesn't take his manzil, his protection, the first attack that the devil is going to make, the jinn are going to make, is on him. So on making the dua, Ibrahim alayhi salatu wassalam then also showed what you must do from our side. One is to live close to the masjid. And the second was this, Rabbi ja'alli muqim as-salah wa min dhurriyyati, that Allah make me and my progeny from those who can perform a salah which is straight. Aqama means to straighten something. Straighten doesn't mean only straight, it means in every part. It's when you have your arrow and the bow, then hitting the target got nothing always to do with the person shooting. It also got a lot to do with the make of the bow and the arrow. If that arrow is not straight, so the maker of the arrow will have a manner to see how straight it is. That's how it's going to hit its target. And then they're going to make sure the bow is tight. If the bow is tight, the curve is right, the arrow is straight, then you just need the one shooting also to learn how to shoot. But if the material is not right, then you can be the best shooter of that arrow, but it is not going to hit its target. So there are many a person who says, my daughter, my son, I myself perform my salah. And I always heard the one performing salah, that one will never be a thief. I always heard that the difference between, or the gap between kufr and iman got to do with salah and the leaving of salah. That when salah is left, then kufr enters. It doesn't enter immediately, but slowly it starts seeping in. He says, but I saw in my own children, they always perform the salah. But they went into university and they got caught up. Then the hijab came out, the scarf came out, then they got started chatting on the phone. Then they went so much into evil that they finally left salah also. So you will say to the person that all you said is, I saw my child performing salah. There was never a promise given on the performance of salah. The promise was given on the straightening. Because if that bow and arrow is not correct, then that is not going to hit its target. So then you have to understand that, see, the amount of time to perform salah, it's about 10 to 15 minutes. Short 5 minutes. He went, he made wuzu, she made wuzu. They quickly came, they read the 2 rakats or 4 rakats. And the time to read a good salah will also be the same 5 minutes. Because shooting the arrow, whether you have the arrow is good, the bow is good, it's going to take you the same time to shoot and hit the target, and it's going to take you the same time to shoot and miss the target. Yes, if the man is always missing the target, you will say one thing to him, maybe you never learned how to make a bow and an arrow. That you just grew up shooting. And that's what happened with me and you. We just grew up performing salah. So we never ever learned a course on how to establish a salah. And like how everything needs a cause, and if you can get the cause right, there's a cause in horse riding, and there's a cause in swimming.
And then you get the person who said, I just learned how to swim. I learned how to ride a horse. He's also going to ride. But the one who did the course will look at him and he says, he doesn't know how to ride. That he is half falling and the horse is half falling. But if he had done the course, they will explain to you, your posture is the main thing. How you hold the reins is the main thing. And if it were course in swimming, they will show you that if your posture is not right, you're going to get tired very soon. He said, you can't be a lifeguard. Because as you will go in the water, especially in the ocean, you will drown after a while. You will have to learn that when the waves come, how to handle the wave. How to use less of your effort and to go further. How to play with the current. When a person is learning how to establish a salah, he has to learn a few things. He has to learn how to handle thoughts. Handle thoughts, I told you how you handle the wave. That you can't tell the wave stop. The wave is going to carry on. There's going to be the big wave, that's the big thought. There's going to be the small waves, that's the small thoughts. Sometimes there'll be a calm ocean. But if you want to swim, you'll have to learn how to go through those waves. Not how to stop the waves. So how to handle thoughts, not how to stop thoughts. Then they will explain to you your posture. On the horse you have to be firm. And you have to remain firm throughout the ride. You can't be loose. If your body just bends a little bit, the horse many a time himself picks up that this rider on mine is more like a passenger. The horse rider has to be firm throughout. His body is straight. His legs are tight. It keeps on the side of the horse so tight that a time will come when they'll say you can leave the reins also. You can ride your horse with your legs. You can turn it with the leg. You don't need the reins. It responds to your leg. Then it responds to every touch. But the one who doesn't know how to ride, he's kicking the horse more than anything. But the response is not coming. He's pulling harder than what he's supposed to pull, but the response is not coming. So all they will say is that the cause is not long, but do the cause. And doing the cause itself is not sufficient, then you have to practice. So the one who's learning how to swim, they don't just teach him all one time, like one bayan. And then they tell him jump in the water. Because when you're learning something, your mind normally, when you're concentrating on one point, forgets all the other points. When they teach you the second point and you start worrying of it, you forget the first point. The instructor then has to remind you, and what about yesterday's? And then he comes back. And when you practice, then you practice only for about 10 minutes. Because your body becomes too tired. But the next time that you're doing it, you'll find that that lesson becomes like normal in you. And the one who learned the lesson of how to ride a horse, at the end of the whole thing, many of the things he doesn't even pay attention to, but it's there. It has now fallen in place. And perhaps after a while, he must again go and look at an instructor, and the instructor will say, I can see a little bit of weakness there on your back. It's bending. Then he just puts his back straight. You're crouching. It comes right again. But most of it comes in place. So to learn how to perform, how to establish a salah, needs a few lessons. A very great scholar of his time was Shah Ismail Shaheed and Shah Ahmad Shaheed. They were in the forefront of the war against the British. Their ambition was not fulfilled in their era, but it was through their efforts that years later the British were finally expelled from the lands of Hindustan. It never happened, but the British were expelled. So he had compiled a kitab. It was known as Anwarus Salah. Anwar means the noors or the lights of Salah. It was about 5 chapters, meaning 5 lessons. And in that 5 lessons, like 5 things I want you to practice on, and then you will get the idea of what it is to establish a salah. So we will be mentioning these 5 lessons over 5 or 6 days. And what you learn in a lesson is that the instructor sometimes also is not the best swimmer. But he learned the lesson and he's teaching the lesson. Then the one who practices swimming or horse riding, he himself later on will learn more points which makes him a better master, that his own instructor never told him about. But always you need to start small and then you can go very far. Then your body itself will teach you what else to do. But you don't jump in the waters without the beginning lessons. And you expect your body to understand what to do. So that's what happened with many of us. Lesson number 1, which we will discuss today. These lessons we learnt it from Hazrat Moulana when we sat for i'tikaf in Azadville many years ago. For the first 2 years, Hazrat Moulana himself, Moulana Abdul Hamid Sahib Damat Barakatuh, he himself gave the dars of these lessons. And then a summary or the crux of his lessons was compiled in this English book. It was known as Anwarus Salah. The original kitab is much more smaller. It's in Urdu. Hazrat Moulana's explanation then made it a little bigger. It is a nice kitab to read yourself. It's available in the Darul Ulum. Anwarus Salah. We will not go through the entire kitab. We are just going to mention piece. Normally in Ramadan, Moulana did it over the entire 30 days. We have about 5 or 6 days. So we will try to mention the summary of a chapter. Even if you just practice on that summary, you will see immediately some slight difference in the establishment of the salah. If the salah can become straight, as we mentioned, you're going to hit your target. Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam said that, have you ever seen a person in front of his house, there's a river, there's a spring, and in which there is the most pure water, and it is moving at a rapid pace. The person to go out of his house needs to go into the waters and then come out. He said 5 times a day he needs to go out. He said, do you ever think that any dirt, daran means even that small dust, do you think it will remain on his body? Sahaba radiallahu anh said, no way. It is not just water, it's moving at that force. And it is sparkling. He has to go in and he has to come out. And when he comes back, he goes in and he comes out. 5 times a day, he has splashed in the best of waters. So Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, similarly a believer, when he performs his salah, but the meaning of it is, and the remaining wording is, as it's supposed to be performed. No sin will ever remain on his body. Now when we think of sin, we only think the sin. That sin got an entire baggage with it. It is one sin that draws another sin. It is one sin that brings in darkness. It is one sin that makes darkness and invites the insects of the world to enter. It is that one sin that spoils our character. It is that one sin that makes all our other problems major problems. When normally the Hakim and the doctor, in the past there was a difference. Where the doctor would say, you got sinus, take this for the sinus. And he would say, you got a cough, take this for the cough. You got a body pain, take this for the body pain. And the Hakim, his treatment would be a much slower treatment. That's why no one likes it. He will first touch you and he'll say, right, for the next 5 days, don't eat this, don't eat this, don't eat this, don't eat this. And normally every patient will ask him, then what must I eat? And he'll answer so nicely, whatever is not written there. There's hardly anything not written there. But what he will say is, I don't want to treat the end, because it will be too many medications. He said, let me try and treat the root cause. That all of those things must fall away. That was what the narration was. When Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam grabbed the branch and he shook it and he said, it will fall like this. That many things will fall away if one thing can be done. If one establishment of salah can be done, even the little dust that settles under the nails falls away. Anger becomes controlled. Character changes. Desires for dirt goes away. Inclination for good comes. So how many lessons are needed normally? Worry about your anger, worry about your pride, worry about your jealousy. And if one person can be taught, learn how to shoot your arrow, which becomes enjoyable. He starts enjoying it because he sees, hey, I'm hitting targets. I used to always wonder how people could get that bullseye. That bullseye. And one is where you hit the target bullseye, but that's what's not they're looking for. That I want somebody else to hit the target. And my arrow must go through his arrow. Yes, that's what I want. It must hit his arrow on that point that it splits his. Then he says, now I got it right. And he gets so thrilled then. But the one who can't get it, he shoots for a few times. And then he just puts that bow away and he says, I wasn't meant as a person to shoot bow and arrow. How to establish that salah. So point number one, which we will discuss now in this 10 minutes. Try and grasp this, that the meaning of concentration in salah. Because we want a salah which is going to have two qualities. One is sakinina qaliban. That my body is always content. Content means there's no movement which is not asked. So that's the one part we normally don't bother about. Everyone says, how do I get a salah of concentration, meaning my thoughts are going wild? The answer is, don't worry of your thoughts, because that's not you. You got no power over your thoughts. But we got power over our body. My hand can only move to scratch if I move it. It can't move automatically. So as soon as I say my Allahu Akbar, normally I'm trying to say that I'm telling my thoughts, now focus. Thoughts will never focus. I am telling my body that for the next 5 minutes, try and be as firm as possible. We're going for the dive. I want your posture to be 100% correct. What is that posture? Every madhab will have a different posture. So whatever is the law of the madhab, for men there will be a different posture. For women there will be a different posture. What was taught in the madrasa, that these are the faraiz, and these are the sunan. When you stand, what sunnats we want you to do. These are the mustahabbat. To go into that detail, we don't have time. That you already know most of it. Or if you forgot it, you just have to go back again and understand that I never knew in madrasa why that ustad was hitting me, when I never know what's the mustahab. Because without that, that body's posture is not ever going to be correct. So when one murid of Shah Ahmad Shaheed, rahimullah, when one murid of Mujaddid al-Faisani, rahimullah, wrote a letter to him to say, I cannot get this concentration of salah. So he wrote to him that according to this slave of Allah, the entire thing of concentration got to do with what you learnt in the books of fiqh, that this is farz, this is sunnah, this is mustahab. He said, you do that, you have got a salah of concentration. So one word I used is don't move where you're not required to move. And because of the men, be firm. So when I will start my salah, my hands will not loosely lift up. It will lift up as a firm rider or a swimmer. And we all know the difference between firm and loose. When it's loose, the fingers and the hands can go to the sky in the back, or they can stop before time. When it is firm, you will take it to where you need to take it. So he said, I learned in madrasa that my earlobe is where I need to get. So what difference it makes? It's almost there. No, it makes a very big difference. Because when I have to focus to get it there, I'll feel a little strain here also. Now it means I'm firm. I will not crouch. I will stand. And after my hands reach there, then I won't let it go back, because then it's still loose. Then why did it fall? I'll stop it there. To say that the hand has to be firm. Fingers can be okay. They don't have to be tight. They don't have to be spread. The fingers will be normal. And I will focus that my fingers must be normal now. It mustn't be closed. It mustn't be open. It must be normal. To keep my fingers normal itself needs a concentration. So I'll bring my hand, I'll feel the strain. I will make sure my fingers are normal. And then when I tie it, there's different ways to tie it. According to the madhab, whatever my madhab taught me. For us, we will use one way, that my 3 fingers will come on top. And these 2 will take a grip around my wrist. Now when I'm standing in my qiyam, I want to feel my grip. Think about it, do you ever feel it tight? So normally my hand will drop like this. That means your seat belt is not tight. Bring it back. And normally my hand after 1 second will say, hey, don't hold me so tight. He says, no, I'll hold you so tight. Because this tightness is going to remind me I'm in salah. That's all. As for my thoughts, it can go back home also, no problem. But my finger will carry on telling me I'm in salah. So instead of worrying about my inner thought, I will worry about my outside hand. And I'll just carry on pressing on it as the Imam Sahib is reading. He's reading silent or he's reading loud. Every few seconds I'll just press. And the best time now to practice on this will be the Zuhr Salah. Especially the Farz. So we'll try it in our Sunan. And then we will try it in the Farz. And we will go 2 Sunnah after that. I will practice that press, press, press. In the beginning you want to press a little harder, it might pain after the Salah. Later on, you will know how to hold the reins of your horse. But it has to be firm. And whenever it gets loose, then again bring your mind, hey, why am I not feeling my hands? You see, you're not pressing. When I will go in ruku, this is for the men, the posture of the man is my hands will now open big. And they will grab on my knees. This is the one time that my fingers will not be normal anymore. It will have to now open. And it will grab on my knees. As it grabs on my knees, it's going to tell my body, I'm in ruku. I must feel the grab. So if my thoughts are still in my shop, that's my thoughts. It's not in my control. But my grab is in my control. When I will grab, when I enter my house and I grab my son, he also knows I'm at home, I also know. When I grab my wife, she knows I'm at home, I also know. At that time, a person doesn't say, hey, I don't even know I'm with my wife. The grab taught him, not his thoughts. So if you grab your hand, then you with your beloved Allah. Grab it. You don't have to one time even tell yourself, hey, I'm in salah. You don't have to say, I'm in front of Allah. The grab will do everything. The grab. Then I will lift up. Then I will go into my sajda. In my sajda, my fingers will go the complete opposite. In ruku, it opened big and grabbed. In sajda, it will become tight as can be. That I must feel the tightness. So many people, I told them, make sure your fingers are closed. He said, Moulana, it's closed. I said, no, your thumb is still out. Bring your thumb in and make it tight. Try and bring it in line with the ears. Because me and you grew up with namaz with our mother. So our hands are still here. We need it to come a little higher. My ear, when I said Allahu Akbar, my ear was my guide. It must reach there. This must be my guide, it must reach there. That firmness is what's required. Firmness. Firmness in the Allahu Akbar, I feel a little strain. Open my fingers in ruku, I feel the pain. I feel the grab. Go in sajda, I feel the pain. Don't touch so hard. Say, no, touch harder. Press hard. And then when my nose, which is my delicate portion of my body, touches the ground, and then my forehead. So if I'm suffering from sinus, then I'm excused for a while. But otherwise, I will then press hard on my nose. The nose normally touches, and after the nose, the forehead goes. After the forehead, we become a little bit loose and we lift up our nose a little bit. That be easy, I'm delicate. Then you press the nose down. I want the nose down, and then my eyes. In qiyam, my hands will strain. In ruku, my fingers will open and press, grab. In sajda, my fingers will close hard. My nose will press hard. And now one more thing in the postures, my eye. In qiyam, I will look at where my sajda is going to be. And every time my eye strays to the clock that Moulana is taking a little bit long, then bring it back down. That's my place. It is going to go because I'm driving a car. When I'm driving a car, sometimes the person next to me, I notice his wife lifted up a parda. So quickly I go, I said, there, remember, I have an accident, come back. Even if you always wanted to see her. But this is not the time. So understand that I'm going to lose this 5 minutes. That arrow will not hit my target if that eye goes up. So every time it goes, quickly bring it back before the accident. I only got 5 minutes. Either I hit the target or I don't hit the target. But I am going in the water. It's just if I don't want to go properly in the water, I'm not going to get washed. Same 5 minutes. So just keep my eye, sajda. When I will go in ruku, where my feet are. Some people have the habit when we in ruku, I look at his toes or my toes. Where my legs are, this inner portion of the leg. And this inner portion of the leg. I'm not going to look in between. I'm not going to look at the foot. I'm going to focus on this part of the leg. This part. And on the other part. Again you will say, what a funny thing. But when you tell the horse person who's telling you how to ride the horse, what a funny thing. You say, then don't ride. It's these funny things that make the big difference. That my eyes will learn to focus. That you look where I want you to look. Allah created people with different type of feet. So some people have this desire, I would like to see different designs. So this is not the time now. This is the time to say to my eye, you will look where I want you to look. That eye in salah which can be trained. There's a lot of pretty feet all over. But you looking where I want you to look. Out of salah will learn. There's a lot of pretty faces out. But I'm going to look at my feet, meaning my wife. Even if my feet is not the most beautiful of feet. Meaning my wife is not the prettiest of all the women. But in the ending, she's my feet. Because she's my feet, I'll look and I'll reach my target. In salah, you will have to learn it in 5 minutes. This eye will learn out of salah to look where it's supposed to look.
وآخر دعوانا الحمد لله رب العالمين